station staff, management, and advertisers.
What's up, everybody? Pushing the limits on a Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us. Of course, on our YouTube page, on the FMAM dial KSHP, and obviously the Really American Network. So proud to be a part of what they are doing. Jam-packed show lined up for you today, including the senior counsel for the Article 3 project, Will Chamberlain, who said on Jack Posobiec's show yesterday that there's a large faction of the left that if they weren't trying to actually kill you, they would be perfectly happy to see you dead. I'm certainly going to challenge him on that statement he made, and much, much more. We just had Pam Bondi. It didn't go very well for her at this hearing, being questioned about a lot of different topics, including the Tom Homan $50,000 duffel bag of cash, and very evasive on the Epstein files. There's so much to talk about today, including what's going on in Portland, and I figured what better person to do it. Been a little while since we spoke to him. Of course, I love talking to the guys from Midas Touch, and one of my favorites is Ron Filipkowski, who joins us right now. Ron, it is good to see you as always, my friend. How are you?
Doing good. Hanging in there. It's fall foliage season here in New England.
Yeah, that's for sure. Definitely a lot to get to. I want to start by getting your reaction to this Pam Bondi hearing. She won't answer any questions in regards to Tom Homan and this $50,000 duffel bag full of cash. She's very evasive on any Epstein questions. What did you make of this hearing this morning?
It was definitely unlike any congressional hearing I've seen before, especially a Senate hearing where things are supposed to be kind of more formal. Mm-hmm. Very similar to Kash Patel's, except I think she had a little bit. Kash Patel kind of kept getting handed talking points and notes on note cards from an assistant next to him when he had his hearing. Bondi didn't appear to need that. She had all of her talking points ready to go. Basically, her strategy was she had like a personal attack on each Democratic senator. Like Dick Blumenthal questioned her about something. Her response was about, him supposedly like saying he was a ranger in Vietnam when he wasn't. Adam Schiff, she talked about the fact that he got censored when he was in the House for nonsense. It was every single person. White House accepted a political donation from Reid Hoffman, who is apparently mentioned in the Epstein files. So that was her strategy. It was just like, I'm not going to answer any questions that you have about any of these issues, many of which are extremely important going on right now in the country. And I'm just going to attack you. I'm not going to answer anything about Epstein. I'm not going to answer anything about Homan. I'm not going to answer anything about the attacking boats in the Caribbean, blowing up boats. Basically, Adam Schiff did a good job of like at the end of the hearing going through each subject area that Bondi was asked about, and she refused to answer any questions at all. And at one point, he turned to the chairman, Grassley, who's 90 something years old, and is like, this is ridiculous. I mean, this is a Senate Judiciary Committee oversight hearing on the Department of Justice. She sat here in front of us for like 3 hours and refused to answer every single question. Like, what are we doing here? This is a joke.
I found it interesting, and you mentioned Kash Patel. If you remember when Eric Swalwell asked Kash Patel 6 or 7 times, did you tell Pam Bondi that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? And 7 times he wouldn't answer the question. And you're right, very similar to the testimony today being put forth by Pam Bondi. It was just personal attacks on all the Democrats up there and totally evasive when it comes to Epstein. Do you feel like there will be a point where she will be forced to answer some of those questions, or do you think we'll never know?
Yeah, on a lot of the Epstein stuff, she just kept saying, ask Kash Patel. But then, you get Kash Patel in front of you and he says, ask Pam Bondi. So, this is their tactic, because Democrats don't control these committees in the House or the Senate. So if they did, these people would be hauled in front of Congress every other week, but right. They're not. And so, Democrats know you're going to get like 2 chances a year to question these people. And so when they just go in there and just obstruct and punt and point the finger somewhere else, they're easy to get away with this. I mean, like, for example, on the Homan thing, she wouldn't even answer, because the big question is, look, the FBI undercover agent gave Homan a bag of $50,000 in cash. So
Right.
the question is, what happened to the money? Did they get the money back? Did Homan keep the money? If he kept the money, did he declare it on his tax returns? Right? Because a lot of times when you get cash, you don't declare it. And so she wouldn't answer any of those questions. She just said, you're slandering Tom Homan. He's a fine gentleman, this kind of nonsense.
Right.
And it's like, can't we know if the ICE director is taking bribes? And then she kept saying, Kash Patel found there was no case. Well, okay, well, that's fine. We expect that, but we still want to know some of the facts from you. And she just said she didn't know anything. I mean, at one point she said she didn't know the answer to that question. So in other words, she has never had a discussion as Attorney General with anyone about whether Tom Homan kept that money. I mean, that's just ridiculous.
And she was also asked, right, Ron, would you be okay with a video being released so we can see on that video what may or may not have happened? And right, she wouldn't answer that question either.
No, she literally would not answer anything. It was, and there were like very serious, the one Republican, I would encourage people, if you want to pull the clip from social media, the one Republican who kind of like was frustrated with her was John Kennedy.
Right.
John Kennedy was like, look, I kind of want to know these Epstein questions myself, because look, the bottom line is, as we said before, there's plenty of Democrats implicated in Epstein. It goes both ways.
Sure. But
the Democrats are the only ones saying, bring it on. Like, we don't care. Like, if you hurt some of our people, that's fine. Yeah. Let's get it all out. Yeah. And Kennedy was kind of saying that. Kennedy is like, look, we kind of need this stuff. What's going on here? Why aren't you being forthcoming? And he talked about Lutnick. The interview that Howard Lutnick, Commerce Secretary, just gave, where he was next door neighbors with Epstein. He knew him. Epstein gave him a tour, showed him the massage room, the whole deal, and was going into a lot of details with a right-wing podcaster. And Kennedy's like, shouldn't you have talked to Lutnick about this? And then, Bondi's like, I'm not really interested in doing that. And then he's like, well, maybe our committee needs to subpoena Lutnick then.
Yeah.
So at least there's one Republican who cares.
I agree. What's the point, though, of having these hearings when you have these people like the Pam Bondis and the Kash Patels that are not going to answer the most prevalent questions?
There's no point. It's just, it becomes a situation where like Democrats end up making speeches, Bondi, the witnesses, whoever they are, just insult whoever's asking the questions, and you get nothing done. You learn nothing. There's really no news. All there is just clips for TV and social media, and that's about it. So these hearings are no longer, they're almost no longer interesting. They're kind of boring to watch, to be honest with you, especially if you kind of know what each person's going to say, because there's just no exchange. There's no back and forth. There's no question and answer anymore. The Trump administration officials have developed this strategy, all of them, that when they appear before Congress, they're going to say nothing about anything. And the only thing they're going to do is yell and scream and personally attack the person asking the question, which, committee chairmen are not supposed to allow that to happen. They're supposed to stop witnesses. And that's, again, why it's so important for Democrats to at least win the House next year. So there will at least be some committees that do some oversight where there are chairmen who say, you're not going to stop the witness. You're not going to do that. You need to answer this question, yes or no. What is the answer to this question? And, Republican chairmen are just simply not going to do that.
No chance they're going to do that. I agree with you. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on in Portland. You put out a tweet that I want to read because I think it's absolutely necessary to read this, because you're right. You said it's amazing how often right-wing independent journalists, quotations, become the story at whatever event they are covering. Nick Sortor, obviously, for example, and others that are out there, Cam Higbee and others. You're so right, Ron. They go out there and they become the story. Just can you expand on that?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this. I've covered MAGA for so many years, and obviously you see this with them over and over again. Sortor he was in East Palestine way back with the train crash. He was the first guy in there stirring up trouble, and He went to Hawaii after the fires there and was causing problems there. And the people there were yelling and screaming at him, telling him, get out of here. So this is what he does. He shows up like North Carolina hurricane, Asheville, he shows up at these disaster sites and tries to instigate issues. And of course, filming himself. And he's not the only one. I mean, there's been so many of these guys who have done it over the years. Their entire playbook, Benny Johnson is another one, is to go in there and create a confrontation and to provoke protesters from the left into fights, into yelling at them or spitting at them or pepper spraying them or whatever. And they'll grab their signs and they'll get in their face. And they're looking for that viral moment. Alex Jones has his person that goes out. Laura Loomer has her person that goes out and starts these things. All these different little podcasts and networks have their people that go to these events and try to instigate things because they're looking for that clip that hopefully, the home run is getting it on Fox News for a lot of these guys. And then, or getting Trump to retweet it. And then, using that as their justification of, hey, look at this chaos. It's chaos. It's war everywhere. We got to send in troops because, one idiot like Sortor is starting fights.
Kristi Noem is actually going to be, I'm sure you heard, is going to be out there today. And we're talking, Ron, about a half a block at most. And the right is making the claim that, Portland is burning down and it's under siege by Democrat terrorists. And I'm thinking to myself, listen, I've had people on the ground there that I've interviewed already. And we're talking about maybe a few hundred people. And we're talking about not even a half a block of Portland. What are they talking about?
Yeah, it's all right around the ICE building there, and that's where it's all happening. And she's going to go in there with who? Benny Johnson, former on the payroll of the Russians to spread propaganda in the U.S. He's going to be there filming her just like he did in Illinois when I posted the viral clip of her not being allowed to go to the bathroom, where she tried to go to the bathroom in a municipal building and they told her, no, she can't use their bathroom, which, she had a big hissy fit and Benny's filming her on all that stuff. So I expect the usual stuff. They're going to look to create controversy, stir up nonsense. They're going to hope that protesters from the left do something as a provocation and that they can use. And that's why I have, Portland's always been a hot spot for a long time. Protesters in Portland are, they're pretty aggressive and they're very enthusiastic and they're very serious about their protests, and they have been for many, many years. And so Portland has always been on Trump's radar as far as like a lawless city, because it's very leftist and it's very, they don't like the federal government. They don't like Donald Trump. And so, that it's no surprise that is like the first city that he targeted to try and send troops in.
I agree with you. Not a surprise at all. I want to ask you, because you're someone who served this country honorably. And I know you get just as upset as anybody else when you hear Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump make these crazy speeches, in this case over the weekend, speaking to our brave men and women who serve in the Navy. What do you make of a guy like a Pete Hegseth, making these weird statements like, your diversity is not your strength? And then you have Donald Trump up there attacking Democrats for most of his speech. As someone like yourself, who's a hero who served this country, what do you think those people are thinking in their heads when they're forced to sit there and listen to this nonsense, this garbage?
Well, look, first of all, I'm definitely not a hero. I serve, but, definitely not a hero. But, I can tell you, like, the veterans that I know, who are not Trump supporters, this issue enrages them and enrages me probably more than almost anything that he does, maybe more than anything. I mean, I can tell you, like, the first time when I was a Republican, and I was trying to give Trump a chance. I did not support him in the 2016 primary. I'm talking about going back to 2016, but I was trying to like be open-minded and I don't like this guy, but I'll give him a chance. And then the McCain thing happened, where he ridiculed McCain for being a POW. Right. And that was it for me. Like, that was literally like, I'm done with this guy. I'm never voting for this guy. And I never did. Even as a Republican, twice I did not vote for him. And so, but when he gets in front of, this is a whole different ballgame. When you get in front of active duty troops as the president, as he has done multiple times now, and you use these inflammatory partisan political messages against your opponent and the opposition party, that has never been done before in American history. I mean, George Washington talked about not doing this. Eisenhower talked about presidents not doing this, because those people, the military is supposed to stay completely out of politics, completely have nothing to do with politics whatsoever. Don't talk about I can tell you, because when I was in the Marines, of course, I was active in politics. I worked on political campaigns in my off-duty time. And whenever I would even start talking about politics with another Marine, my officers would tell me to stop and say, knock that off. Don't talk about, and I was talking about Republican stuff,
Right.
don't talk that, we don't do that here. Mm-hmm. I remember I was in during the 1988 presidential election.
Right.
And, I knew that my commanding officer was all in for George H.W. Bush against Mike Dukakis in that election, but he would not say a word. He would not say a word to us about it, on who to vote for. I mean, the military has always been like that. So when Donald Trump gets up there and does this, and Hegseth too, this violates every fundamental rule of the United States military, either party. I can tell you, if a Democrat did this in front of troops, I would be calling them out just as loudly. This is unacceptable.
It's absolutely disgusting.
And I can tell you why. It's because it's calculated. It's being done for a reason. It is because he intends to send these troops into U.S. cities and use them against Democrats. And he wants them, because they're not comfortable with that. And he is conditioning them to be comfortable with that.
And he's telling them this would be training on the job. He's made those sorts of statements before. And do you really truly think he doesn't simply understand that is not what these brave men and women have been trained to do? Do you think he really doesn't understand that, or is it that he just doesn't care?
I think, well, both. I mean, he definitely doesn't understand anything about the military. His idea of the military comes from, stories or whatever he sees in movies.
Right.
But, but no, he also doesn't care, because he and Hegseth talked about this too. Hegseth was asked by Fox, by Pete Ducey, do you think our greatest threat for the U.S. military over the next few years is China and Russia, or do you think it's internal, it's domestic in the United States? And Hegseth said internally, like he thinks the biggest problem is internal. This is their plan. I mean, they tried to do this in term one. They tried to use U.S. troops in American cities during the summer of 2020. And the problem is Milley pushed back. Before that, General Kelly pushed back. Mark Esper, Secretary of Defense, pushed back. And they all said, you can't do this, you can't do this, you can't do that. Literally everyone in his first administration, every time he tried to use troops on Americans, said no. And this time he made damn sure, when he brought in Hegseth and others, that there was not going to be anyone around him who would tell him no when he wanted to use troops. So this has always been something Donald Trump wanted to do.
The defense secretary, who has a tattoo on him, as you know, that says 100% white, telling all these brave men and women from, I would imagine, all different backgrounds, that diversity is not your strength. Did you ever think we would be a time in this country, Ron, where we'd have a defense secretary making a statement like that?
Listen, at the time that I was in the 80s, I would estimate that that 90% of the Marines certainly were Republican. But I don't think that is the case anymore by far. And the reason for that is because today, in today's military, there is a lot more women than there was back then. And there is a lot more minorities than there was back then. And so what that means is there's a lot more Democrats in the military. Right. It's a lot. I think it's now probably like 60-40. So when these guys say this to these people, you have to understand he's saying this to at least 30-40% of that audience is Democrats, those troops. And so they're in a position where they are ordered to be there. They're forced to be there. And there's a lot of peer pressure on them to cheer. Contrast that, when he appeared in front of the generals and the admirals and he tried to do this, they sat there in stony silence. They did not applaud. They did not clap. They made it clear that they're not going to go for this bullshit. Those were the generals and the admirals. But then, I had hoped, okay, now that they showed the troops the example of how military is supposed to act in the face of partisan politics and how they're supposed to behave, I hope that the next time Trump did it with junior troops, that they would follow the example of their command. But they did not. It was extremely disappointing for me to see those junior troops, chat, clap, and applaud. Not all of them, but laugh and stuff like that. But I get it. They're 17, 18, 19-year-old kids. And,
right.
You got the president of the United States up there trying to, putting on a clown show. They got caught up in the moment, but it's very disappointing.
I guess on a lighter note, Ron, I guess you could call it that. Let's talk about Don Jr. here for a moment. You had posted an interview that he had done, and you're like, is this guy okay? First of all, weird twitching, weird sniffing, and he's like, his head looks like a bird. He's all over the place. What is wrong with Don Jr.? He did not look very well in the latest interview that he just did, and he's claiming that Fox News is anti his father. Like, what is he talking about? If they've been in his father's corner forever for 10 years, like what is he saying? He's angry.
The interview was last night, and I used to post all the Don Jr. clips. See, back when he was with Guilfoyle is when I think they used to party a lot, and they would always look strung out. And he would jump on. They had podcasts together. Hers was at 4 and his was at 6. So I would watch him like back to back. Hers I would watch for her outfits, because she would wear some of the craziest low cut, wild stuff. Not that I was trying to check her out, but I would like to, post pictures of her, right. And I thought that they were in, and sometimes she would just say the wackiest stuff. And then he would come on, and I'd mostly just check to see if he's on something, check his eyes, listen to. So I'd listen for like 10 seconds, and then I'd know like, oh, he's fine today. And I just, bug out. But sometimes you can tell, like, as soon as you see his face, oh man, this guy's, he's loaded, so most likely I'll say, I don't know for sure.
Right.
So, but after they broke up, I think Don's been kind of like on his best behavior. And I think two things, like his dad got elected president, and they split up with Kim. He's got a new girlfriend. So I've noticed like he's been kind of like not as bad as he was back then. But then I saw last night on Newsmax, and as soon as I saw his face, I'm like, oh man, his eyes were lit up all red. And of course, as soon as I started listening to it, I'm like, this guy's out of his mind, because you could tell he talks so fast. He talks fast normally, but there are times when he talks like, we've all, I think, been at parties with people that are on coke or whatever.
Of course.
And they won't stop, they won't leave you alone. That's him. And so he's on Newsmax, and what Newsmax loves to do with the Trumps is to get them to shit talk Fox, And so when Trump over the weekend posted a thing where he was ranting about Mark Kelly, the Arizona senator, was on Fox on Sunday talking about the shutdown, and Trump was all pissed off that they were even having a Democrat on. He thinks it's disloyal to him if they have a Democrat on. So of course Newsmax seizes on that, because they're in competition with Fox. That's their main competitor.
Of course. Yep.
And he's like, didn't what your dad said, don't you think Fox is terrible? Don't you agree with us? And of course Junior takes the bait and just starts ranting and raving about how terrible Fox is, how he doesn't watch it anymore, and how they don't invite him on anymore. And of course the Newsmax host is just loving it. This is exactly what he wanted. But for me, like, just the way he was talking and how geeked out he was, and you can even watch his mouth and stuff. He wasn't right last night. Put it that way.
I'm not sure he's ever right. Ron, before I let you go, what do you got going on your Substack today? What are you working on?
Yeah, that hearing with Bondi. I'm going to say one more thing too about Epstein.
Sure.
Because I'm working on summing up everything that happened with Bondi. But a lot of the stuff that it talked about with the pardon. So Trump was asked last night, are you going to pardon Ghislaine Maxwell? Right.
Right.
And he, of course, what would be the normal answer you would expect? Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Any politician,
maybe I will.
Notorious,
look at it. Yeah.
Yeah. One of the most notorious child sex traffickers. And he said, well, I don't know. I'm thinking about it. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to consider it. I'm looking at it, which of course is like a baffling answer to most people. How can you say as a president that you're even considering pardoning her? So what I'm going to say is this, because, the guys were talking about it last night. Is he going to do it? And I said, look, this is the game that Trump is playing. Trump is a master manipulator. That's his superpower. His one superpower, the one thing he's great at, is he understands how to identify weaknesses in people and how to manipulate those weaknesses. Right. And so what he said, when he says that, he's doing that very calculated way. He is not going to pardon Maxwell. He never will pardon Maxwell, but he will also never say never. He wants her to think that there's a chance. He wants her. That was a direct message to her. He's saying, I'm considering it. I'm thinking about it, because what does that do? That keeps her on her best behavior. She is the one who can nuke him. She is the one who can throw him under the bus anytime she wants. She has the goods on him. But, they moved her to this minimum security club fed, and now Trump is dangling out there the possibility of a pardon that virtually guarantees that she's going to keep her mouth shut. As long as she thinks there's a chance she could get a pardon, she will never talk. And so Trump is going to continue to do this. Watch, every time he is asked about this, whether it's next year or 2 years from now, he's going to say, I'm still thinking about it.
That's such a good point. I didn't even, it's funny. I didn't even think about that, but you're absolutely right. The reason why he won't say yes or no is to kind of dangle it in front of her. You're right. So she's quote unquote on her best behavior. It makes complete sense to me. And yeah, I agree with you. I don't think she's going to get a pardon. I certainly don't think so, but I guess you never know, but I certainly doubt it. Can't wait to read your Substack today, Ron. You do a great job. Always appreciate you taking the time to come on, my friend. Thank you so much.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Take it easy. That's Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch joining us. Always love having Ron Filipkowski on. I love having all sorts of different people on this show, people on the right, people on the left. I love a good spirited debate, and I love people that have different perspectives. It's been a little while since we've had this guy on the show. Always enjoy it when he does come on. He is the senior counsel for the Article 3 Project and the IAP. Of course, I'm talking about Will Chamberlain, who joins us right now on the program. Will, thank you so much for joining us. It's good to see you. How are you?
Doing good. Good to be with you.
Thanks for joining us. Well, I guess to start, what did you make of the Pam Bondi hearing this morning? I mean, she seemed, at least to me, very evasive, not answering specific questions about, Tom Homan and this alleged $50,000 duffel bag in cash he received. Mm-hmm. I mean, what did you make of this testimony earlier today?
I think she was kind of geared up to attack the senators and, put them on the spot personally. I think that was her basic strategy, to play turnabout and just go after them rather than let herself be attacked. And so that meant that she probably wasn't responding as she wasn't taking the question seriously and instead just going after them. That's kind of what I saw as her strategy.
What do you think, Will, though? I mean, do you think it's not a serious question when somebody asked her, hey, did he accept the money? Did he pay taxes on the money? Go ahead.
It's a serious question, but it's not clear she can answer it in any event, right? If that's true, it would be part of an ongoing investigation. If it's not, then the question becomes, did she ask it? I don't know. But honestly, I will be frank, I don't care, right? I saw that as basically an attempt by the Biden administration to do another entrapment on a Trump official. We saw tons of that. That goes back all the way back to what they did to Michael Flynn in 2016. So I really don't. You cannot express in the English language how little I care.
Even if he accepted a $50,000 bribe in his position, that wouldn't bother you at all?
Well, it can't be a bribe because he wasn't in office. He wasn't a public officer.
Well, no, I understand that. But right. the FBI was obviously investigating him, and that's and he's in the position he's in.
Entrap him. Right?
Well,
if you're I'm sorry. I don't take it seriously, right? I don't take what the Biden FBI did seriously. I just don't think, I think it's very obvious they were trying to entrap him. And moreover, again, I don't care. Massive do not care about that.
What about the Epstein stuff? Do you care about that?
Oh, I think that's frivolous, honestly. frankly, I mean, this has been litigated by some of the biggest law firms in the world. David Boies, Schiller Flexner, was representing Epstein clients. You think they had some of the most competent lawyers in the world doing discovery? Nothing came out of it. I mean, I remember when you had the spectacle of all these women who were saying, we're going to release our own Epstein files, as though it's like this big dramatic thing. It's like, are you the people, you know, why hasn't it been released? It's been a decade. Where's you make the accusation? You can, nothing is stopping you. You're the people who are nominally supposed to be the victims. So I think over the course of the last 3 or 4 years, I think, you know, what's come out with DOJ and people like Cash and Dan, who came into office thinking, we're totally going to find out what happened with the Epstein stuff. Once we get in there's going to be a secret trove of evidence, and they have to come out and eat crow and be like, it's not there. I think that's really embarrassing for them. I don't think they do that unless they're just telling the truth. Like, that it's a lot easy when you're on a podcast. It's pretty easy to talk whatever, you know, say whatever you want, talk about all the big dramatic reveals you're going to have. But if you're actually sitting in the chair, you can't do that. So I look at the Epstein stuff as just like, kind of at this point, kind of frivolous. And you know, I mean, I think Bondi actually had one of her better rejoinders when people were asking her this stuff. It's like, did you ever ask Merrick Garland about this? Did you ever ask Alex Costa about this? No, you like completely were silent about it for 4 years, and all of a sudden you're really interested in these files, which don't apparently. I just like don't think that what people say even exists. I think I take Cash and Dan at their word.
So you don't think Donald Trump is in the Epstein files?
I think his name appears, right? Obviously, because like he and Jeffrey Epstein knew each other. Mm-hmm. So, but that doesn't mean like that's been news. That's been known for decades. Like there's the famous picture of the two of them at Mar-a-Lago. But do I think he did anything wrong? No.
Then why won't Kash Patel answer the question under oath? Did you tell Pam Bondi that Donald Trump is in the Epstein files? Why won't he answer a very basic question like that? That's the part that I don't.
Because that's internal Department of Justice communication that he should never answer for privilege reasons.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, I thought he was allowed to answer that question. And I guess my thing is, if the answer is no, why not just answer it? My understanding is he's allowed to answer that. I just thought so.
No, I don't think they don't discuss their internal communications. Like what did I tell Pam Bondi? They don't talk about, I mean, and you can go back administrations. Nobody talks about that sort of thing.
Do you think inevitably though, that's why Donald Trump is calling some of his supporters stupid for even bringing up the Epstein files now? I mean, we've been hearing about it for years, right?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. I think that I think from Trump's perspective, he's like doing all of these things in the world that are improving things dramatically, signing peace deals, you name it, from his perspective. And then some of his supporters are like fighting over a guy who died 6 or 7 years ago. And to the extent that, I mean, there's been so much actual investigation of this, right? Not just in terms of the criminal investigations of Ghislaine Maxwell, but also the civil investigations in terms of the litigation that happened. And nothing, right? Like, do you think David Boies, who had the potential to get millions and extract millions and millions of dollars in settlements from people if you were able to uncover evidence and discovery of wrongdoing, would not do that? I mean, they had the legal help they needed. This wasn't a situation where they didn't have really qualified legal help. They had the best lawyers in the country, the best plaintiffs lawyers in the country, and couldn't find anything.
So if Trump didn't have, I'm not necessarily saying that you're saying this, but if Trump didn't have anything to hide, why would he send his former personal attorney to interview Maxwell and then send her to this facility, which is a very low minimum security prison, and not even answer the question yesterday? Are you thinking about giving her a pardon? Well, maybe not. If he had nothing to hide, why wouldn't he just say no, Will? This is one of the biggest sex traffickers in the history of this country and the world. Why is the Trump administration coddling her? Why would they be treating her this way? Why would they send her to this kind of facility for this serious of crimes that she was found guilty of?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. Well, I don't know what the decision is with regard. I don't know.
Educated guess, Will.
You're right. Educated guess. I mean, they're like. They wanted her. They wanted her testimony. They wanted her on the record. I don't think apparently nobody had ever bothered to get that at DOJ before. So DOJ put her on the record. You actually read her testimony. I mean, there's points where you have. I mean, she's very nice to Trump, so maybe she's trying to curry favor for a pardon. I don't know. But on the other hand, she's kind of poo-pooing a lot of the big weird Jewish conspiracy theories. You know, for example, there was this conspiracy theory that Epstein was Mossad because Ghislaine Maxwell's dad was also Mossad, and so that's the Mossad connection. And she's like, not only did she say there was no such like meeting or that Epstein wasn't Mossad, she said they literally never knew each other. They never met. They had no interaction, which is a remarkable thing to say, because she's saying that under oath, and it's actually one instance of them even being in the same room together would be sufficient to disprove that and tack on a 5-year perjury count on addition to the end of her sentence, which will end. It's not a life sentence or anything.
Call me crazy. Call me crazy, Will, but I just think the reason why Donald Trump's former personal attorney interviewed her and the reason why they sent her to this facility is to protect Donald Trump. I think it's
well, then why would they release the document? They put the transcript of the interview out in public.
Oh, of course they did. Of course they did, because they know, and she knows. She might not be a stupid woman. She knows that if she...
Well, then, whoa. Okay, you're saying that you think that he's trying to hide something, then he wouldn't have sent his DOJ to interview her at all. He would have just not had an interview. Why would you even would you interview someone and then put it in public if you're trying to hide something?
I think there's one reason, because they wanted to make sure that she cleared Donald Trump and sent her to this facility, and they've had conversations about it, and she knows exactly what's going on here.
Okay.
And it's pretty, to me.
I don't think they would in the abstract think that her saying nice things about Donald Trump would clear him in the court of public opinion. She's a convicted felon.
Then I would ask this question. I already asked it to you, but I asked this to anybody. Why would they send her to this low minimum security prison and treat her like she's not a serious criminal? Everybody in this industry pretty much says this is unprecedented with what this woman was convicted of. Why would Donald Trump and his administration help facilitate sending one of the biggest sex traffickers in the world to a Club Med facility, basically? And to me, there's only one reasonable conclusion, not because they were being nice, because they're hiding something. Why else? Give me another logical reason why.
I think maybe you're trying to negotiate a deal. Maybe there's something you're trying to. Maybe you're trying to negotiate some testimony from her. I don't know.
Sure.
Maybe you're trying to negotiate some information out of her that might not be useful for testimony, but might be useful for some other reason. I don't know.
Or maybe you're trying to protect the president of the United States.
Well, but then you wouldn't even bother doing the interview in the first place. Right. That's the thing. I don't think your theory makes much sense. I think that if you actually were trying to accomplish that end, there's a lot easier things to do.
The timing of it is very interesting. Why would they do it now? I think because the Epstein stuff is all getting out there in public. Donald Trump was on the Epstein flight log at least 7 times. Jeffrey Epstein is on tape saying that Donald Trump at one point was his best friend.
So was a whole bunch of people. And it's moreover, there's literally no actual evidence of him engaging in any foul play in this regard. None.
Well, then
all the evidence points the other direction entirely. Moreover, as I described, this is another circumstance where you go back to the fact that there's been this enormous amount of civil litigation being done with extensive discovery and nothing comes out of it. Both Cash and Dan had to come out and publicly say the list doesn't exist. I know we said it existed. It doesn't exist. Yeah. I think this is preposterous. I think this is QAnon tier garbage.
You think the Epstein files are QAnon?
I think the theory that Donald Trump engaged in any malfeasance is QAnon tier garbage.
Based on what? Why would you see?
Based on the complete lack of evidence of that, despite there being extraordinary extensive investigations of this by both private and public actors. QAnon tier garbage.
Why won't they release the files?
Trust the plan, bro. QAnon tier garbage.
Okay, well, I disagree with you. There's a lot of real victims out there, and I do believe Donald Trump.
Yeah, and despite somehow they haven't managed to say anything about anybody. The only person who did try and accuse somebody got sued for defamation and had to retract it.
Why not release the files?
What? Why not release the files? Because apparently, I don't know what files. It's not clear that there are files that can be released that are even remotely relevant here, other than because most of the things that are in the Epstein files apparently are young children. Literally the sex abuse videos of Jeffrey Epstein having sex with young women.
Yeah, they don't have to release those videos, and they don't have to put out the names of any victims. In fact, they can redact those names. I'm just saying, why not release all the files with all these? If indeed,
also because it's grand jury testimony, they can't release grand jury testimony because that's confidential as required by law.
Yeah, Donald Trump has the legal authority if he wanted to release the files.
No, he doesn't have the legal authority to release grand jury testimony. That's on the judge.
Okay,
the judge has to sign off on that. Bondi tried to get the grand jury testimony released.
Right,
the judge refused the motion.
Correct. With the less than 3% of the files that were not released, you are correct on that. But about 97% of the files could be released without any grand jury testimony that they could release tomorrow, tomorrow, without any judge having to sign off on it. Donald Trump will not do that. I respectfully disagree with you. I don't think this is QAnon stuff. I think QAnon stuff is saying that Trump won the 2020 election. I think it's QAnon stuff saying that, this is...
He has a much better claim. There's much more evidence that he might well have prevailed in the 2020 election than there is that he can engage in any malfeasance with Epstein.
Okay, well, I haven't seen any evidence to the contrary that Donald Trump won the 2020 election and he was 0-62 in the courtroom. I think that's QAnon.
Never ruled on the substance.
Because there was no substance.
All of it kicked on standing.
Where is the substance then? Can you show me that there's widespread voter fraud that you're claiming, that could have changed the outcome.
No.
of the
It's not
election.
necessarily that there's widespread voter fraud. That's not my claim. My claim is merely that like there were sufficient numbers of unlawful votes that exceeded the margin of victory, which is that's all that's needed to trigger a recount. I'm not saying that that necessarily meant that he would have won had all the unlawful votes gone away.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's what he's been claiming for years. He's the only president in history that hasn't conceded an election. But, anyway, I didn't want to get into a conversation with you about the 2020 election. But yes, that's just my personal opinion. I think anybody who thinks Trump won the 2020 election is crazy. That's just my personal opinion. You had said on Jack Posobiec's podcast, and correct me if I'm wrong, I tried to get the quote right here. There's a large faction of the left that if they weren't trying to actually kill you, they would be perfectly happy to see you dead. Why would you say that? You think there's a large portion of the Democrat Party that wants to see people dead?
Oh, yeah. Did you see the reactions to Charlie Kirk's assassination?
Name me one prominent Democrat. Name me one prominent Democrat in office right now that has that was celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. Can you
I
name
wasn't
me one?
talking about politicians. I was talking about the base.
So
and
people,
also there's clearly
on
one who's perfectly willing to say that in private. That's Jay Jones, the attorney general candidate in Virginia.
Right, a candidate.
Clearly is.
So that's a large.
He's in the House of Delegates currently. He's an office holder.
So a few Looney Tunes, and you label that as a large faction of the left. That's the words that you used. Large faction of the left.
There's a large part of the left. I mean, and all you have to do is look at the polling. What is it? What is the numbers of that showed that the Democrats think? I think they did a poll. They said that over half of Democrats thought that the assassination of Donald Trump would be partially justified. Almost half believed that Elon Musk would be partially justified. The left has a massive political violence problem.
Okay,
the Mangione thing, they're making candles of the guy. There's a huge assassination problem on the part of the left. A huge number of people cheering it on. It's like you're gaslighting me, dude. Like the aftermath of
gaslighting you. You made the statement.
Assassination had huge numbers of people who were just like on social media publicly posting about how they were happy about Charlie Kirk being killed. That's my friend.
I don't agree with anybody. And I was on the air and I was emotional when Charlie Kirk was murdered. However, Will, I made this point on Piers Morgan the other day, which is there is a fine line difference between celebrating the murder of somebody, which clearly I would never do. And last I checked, not one elected Democrat has done in office, not one.
Yeah, they know better because they're politicians. They know better.
Okay, well, you're making a gross assumption, and I disagree with you. But I will also say I'm sorry for the loss of your friend. I'm sorry for his family. I'm sorry for his friends. I'm not going to celebrate his life because I don't think he was a good guy. There's a difference.
Well, you're wrong. You're absolutely wrong. And you're absurd. He's not a good guy. What about his life? Was he a good husband? Was he a good father?
Okay, so I'll get to that. I'll get to that.
Right.
Okay,
was he good to his friends? Was he a good family man? Was he good? Was he generous with his time? Yeah, he was. You just think you're mad at him because his political views are too bad, so you think he's a bad person? What's wrong with you?
Okay, well, I'll give you the answer if you give me the
opportunity. Shame on you, bro.
Shame on me.
Shame on you.
Shame on me. Okay, well, I'll give you reasons why.
Shame on you.
So, okay, well, I'll give you the reasons why. I don't just say things like you on Jack Posobiec show, and you say there's a large faction of the left, and you name me one person and some people on Twitter. But I'll give you actual reasons why I don't think he was a good guy. And by the way, again, very separate from celebrating somebody's murder. I want to be very clear on that.
I'm not accusing you of that.
I didn't say you were. I didn't say you were, Will. But there are a lot of people on the right that say idiotic things, that say elected officials are celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk. I was even being accused of that. Never would I ever condone political violence, and I feel for his family and friends. Now, why do I say I don't think he was a good guy? Well, for starters, some of the statements he's made on the record about black women, including Michelle Obama and others, the day after Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer, he went on his show with a smirk on his face, imploring his listeners to bail this guy out. And even though he said, I don't condone what happened to him, he had a smile on his face after Paul Pelosi. And by the way, I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi, but to smile and say anybody would be a hero to bail out someone who just tried to kill Paul Pelosi is not a good person, Will. Shame on you. Shame on him. That's not a good person.
That's like one bad statement. You think you were doing a daily radio show for decades. I'm assuming I'm taking your word on you framing that exactly how it was.
I played it on my show.
I don't remember that it was obvious exactly at the time that was like that his guilt was obvious until a few days later.
Well, shame on you then. Shame on you then. Because you're accusing me and you're saying shame on me when I know the statements and the words that Charlie Kirk used towards African-American women, towards
that one's a ridiculous smear. His point of it was the idea about if you have DEI and you aren't using merit to select pilots, then suddenly seeing a black pilot means you have to worry
I'm
that
talking
the
about
person
the
was
statement.
selected not on the basis of their merit.
I'm not just talking about that idiotic statement he made. I'm talking about Michelle Obama and others when he said they're not
Do you think
smart enough.
is affirmative action not does affirmative action not mean that the most qualified person do not necessarily get selected, right?
Okay,
Yes or
so
no?
would you say it's a DEI hire for Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? Would you say it's a DEI hire for members of the Trump administration? What are Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s medical credentials to be in that situation?
DEI hire, it's
What would you call it then?
coalition
Is he qualified?
building,
Is he qualified?
he endorsed President Trump and brought his voters, and he gets a
Okay,
cabinet.
well, is he I don't hear you complaining about the not qualified, unqualified people that are in the Donald Trump administration that have no bearing on being there. And by the way, I wasn't talking about the statement he made about a black pilot. I'm specifically talking about the statements he made about Joy Reid and Michelle Obama. I think we all can agree, Michelle Obama, you don't have to agree with her politics, but he went after her intelligence. All these black women going after transgenders as if he's a doctor, saying transgender surgery should be illegal. No, I don't think he was a good guy. Now, you're his friend.
It should be illegal. It's barbaric.
That's your opinion.
Certainly be illegal for anybody under the age of 18.
That's your opinion. I think it's barbaric to beat police officers on January 6th, but the guy who you support called them patriots and hostages. I think that's barbaric. But guess what? I don't tell other people what to do, Will. Shame on you. I don't tell other people what to do. Shame on Charlie Kirk and shame on you.
Oh, no, shame on you. If you want to tell, I love how much the left wants to shit.
I'm not the left. I'm not the left. I'm a registered independent, so you're not going to play that game with me, Will, okay? If you want, listen, I think Charlie Kirk was a bad guy. I'm sorry you lost your friend. I have the right to feel that way based on things that he said. And then when I bring up things, you say, well, that's just a one-off. That's just one thing he said. I have never celebrated or laughed about the death of anybody in my entire career. Charlie Kirk did that on his podcast, and shame on you for not calling that out.
He didn't die. He didn't celebrate.
Shame on you. It was an attempted murder. Does that make it any better, Will? Shame on you.
I don't think it was obvious at the moment that it was an attempted murder. That's so that's why I'm a little worried.
Bludgeoning somebody, somebody with a hammer. By the way, he was convicted already. Well, bludgeoning somebody with a hammer.
I certainly wouldn't say that about him. Obviously, he was like a criminal. I just think, if it was the day after it happened, it wasn't obvious what the story was.
Are you going to call out? Oh, okay, so that makes it any better to be joking about something like that on a podcast and telling people to bail him out? You think that's okay? Or are you willing to call that out on this show? You call out Democrats for everything. Why don't you call out your late friend Charlie Kirk as I give you the
No, I'm not calling out my late friend Charlie Kirk for anything. No.
Well, there you go.
My late friend
there you
Charlie
go.
Kirk. Listen to yourself. Will you call out your dead friend who was assassinated in cold blood by a leftist lunatic? No, I won't.
A leftist lunatic? He's a leftist lunatic? Who did it?
Yeah.
What's your evidence that he was a leftist lunatic?
The engravings on the bullets?
Oh, okay.
So
that would show you that it was the left that did it then. So it was a
leftist lunatic.
A leftist lunatic.
He was a leftist.
Got
All
you.
the evidence points to him being a leftist. His parents
so what about the anti?
Whoa! We're going to stop on this one for a second. Are you seriously saying you don't believe he was a leftist?
Well, first of all, here's what I will say about it. And unlike you, I don't care whether the right or the left commits a heinous crime. On January 6th, when we had a lot of Trump supporters that did some awful things, I didn't. Oh, well, there's a reason why I'm bringing this up.
Yeah.
There's a reason why, because I didn't blame all Trump supporters or all of the right for what took place on January 6th. There were a couple 100,000 people there, and there were maybe 1,500, 2,000 people that did some horrible things, some stupid things.
Yeah, I called them out for it at the time. I lost a lot of followers that day.
Well, you know what? The guy who you support called them hostages and patriots. But anyway, going back to this one individual, there is an investigation. I'm going to let it play out. And unlike what Charlie Kirk did the day after Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer, I'm going to wait for all the evidence to come out and see where he was radicalized, how this happened, and hopefully prevent something horrible like this from ever happening.
Oh, I think that's a cop-out. There's enormous amounts of evidence that's been made public already that really seriously and very clearly demonstrates the guy was a leftist. And I think that's a cop-out.
He was a leftist. Okay. So, I mean, I've heard people talk about his transgender boyfriend and blame it on transgenders. He comes from a conservative family who voted for Donald Trump. I don't really care what his.
I didn't realize that political views are transmitted from the parents to the children, like genetic height.
Well, even if he was by the way, was he a registered Democrat or what was he registered?
He was 18 or he was 19 years old. He probably hadn't even voted. Doesn't mean he wasn't a leftist.
Doesn't mean he was either.
He voted he put out there in his own text messages, I was tired of his hate. right? He was dating a transgender person. We know that. He put Bella Ciao, which is a
And why is that important
anti-fascist
to you?
slogan.
Why is that
He said,
important to you?
Fascist catch.
Why
Because
is that important to you that he was dating a transgender person? Why does that have any relevance?
It wouldn't even matter so much if it weren't for the fact that the left is trying to deny it and blame conservatives for the death of their primary symbol. It's a kind of blood libel. That's why it's offensive.
What elected Democrat official is blaming Republicans for what happened to Charlie Kirk?
Oh, you didn't? There was one. I forget it right off the top of my head. But no, that was Jimmy Kimmel. Sorry,
Is Jimmy Kimmel an elected official? Is Jimmy Kimmel elected? Okay, I asked you what
it was Jasmine Crockett who did that, or it might have been somebody else.
So Jasmine Crockett blamed Republicans for Charlie Kirk's murder.
So. I think there was somebody like in any event. It's extraordinarily common. Again, you look at the polling, you actually see. Okay, so this is just overwhelming in the leftist information ecosystem. It's something like 30% of the left believes that he had leftist belief. I'm sorry, believes he had right-wing beliefs, and only 10% believes he had leftist belief, despite all the evidence pointing in the other direction. There's enormous disinformation problem on the left.
Okay, so do we blame the left? So do we blame the left for the murder of your friend? That's what a lot of Republicans are doing? Do we blame the left and the rhetoric from the left?
I mean,
what do you blame for this?
Yeah, I blame the radical left for this. I blame the radical left for this.
You blame the radical left.
There's an enormous number of people on the radical left, people like Hassan Piker, people, who encourage this sort of crap, who talk, Destiny, another one that I would certainly put in this category. People who, would talk, Destiny had some horrible quote.
What did Destiny say? What did he say that
he said that, Republicans need to see their friends assassinated so that they'll act right or something. It was one of the, I could pull it up if you want me to.
I don't recall, but him making that statement. But I guess this is my question, right? I think we both can agree on this. There is political violence on both sides of the aisle. You call it out.
Overwhelmingly a liberal problem.
Okay, well, I disagree with you, and I have the statistics that would say that what you're saying is wrong, according to the
are garbage in, garbage out, manipulated by people who are liberal themselves and trying to categorize things like white supremacy violence in prisons as political violence.
All right, so let's talk about that. No statistics. The judge's home arson back this October 2025. Democrat officials.
No clue who that is. No clue who's done that yet.
No clue. Yeah, I'm sure.
Zero evidence in any direction.
What about the woman who was? What about the Texas El Paso shooting in Walmart? Manifesto, Trump supporter. What about the violence? You don't recall. You don't remember that. I understand.
Yeah, it's a while ago at this point. There's a lot more leftist violence in the immediate recent past.
Well, that's not true. That's not
also true that. Yeah. Okay.
So in 2025, The Guardian reported that the U.S. Department of Justice had removed a study that found far-right extremists commit far more violence. What's your reasoning behind that?
Look at Biden's DOJ found that.
No. September.
Garbage in, garbage out.
September.
Donald Trump was nearly assassinated twice. Charlie Kirk was just
by a Republican.
In the last month, there was an ICE shooting. There was the shooting in the Annunciation Church.
You don't want to answer my question.
There continues to be overwhelming violence against ICE officials. They tried to kill an ICE official in Chicago just yesterday. There's an extraordinarily problem with weapon violence in this country.
Why didn't you answer my question? September.
Left-wing agitators, Antifa.
I see. So those aren't right-wing agitators in Portland. Okay, so September 2000. I'll ask the question again because you didn't answer it. September 2025, The Guardian reported that the U.S. Department of Justice removed a study that found far-right extremists commit far more violence. Why would they not want to release that study? Why did they remove it, sir?
Because they think it's fake.
So
they don't want to put fake information into the public ecosystem.
Gotcha. Yeah. So if they think it's fake, they will erase it and remove it. But if it fits their political narrative, then they'll go along with it. Thank you for making my point for me, Will. That's the point that I was trying to make. You're blaming the left for all the political violence in this country, or most of it, which is statistically not true. And then when I bring up the word statistic, you say, well, that's fake and it's made up. Will, if it doesn't fit your narrative, it's fake and it's made up. If it doesn't,
because it's just literally obvious if you pay attention to the news and you actually see what's happening in this country that there's a left-wing.
Who was the guy who went into the church?
And you look at the polling that shows who's actually okay with political violence, and it's overwhelmingly the problem is dramatically different for the left versus the right.
Who was the guy who went into that church a few weeks ago who killed a bunch of innocent people? Was that a leftist?
I have no idea.
Very convenient, Will. You have no idea. Let me give you a hint. He was a Trump supporter who wore Trump outfits and went into the church and started shooting a bunch of innocent people. And then people like you said it was an attack on Christianity. That was a Trump supporter. That wasn't the left. It was a Trump supporter in Texas, El Paso, who killed a bunch of brown people in a Walmart, who in his manifesto talked about Donald Trump and his support for Donald Trump. I'm not making the case which you are trying to make that in all the violence, the left has a huge problem with political violence. What I'm trying to say is it happens on both sides. We didn't have an insurrection with a bunch
I'm
of
not saying it doesn't happen on both sides, but I am saying it's overwhelmingly a left-wing problem.
Which is not true. You've shown no evidence to prove that. I've given you statistics. You call them fake.
Here's my best example of this. There was that Minnesota state senator, or that state legislator who was assassinated, right, by some lunatic.
Yeah, and Donald Trump doesn't know who her name is. Right, exactly. Go ahead.
Well, almost nobody on the left remembered who her name is until Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and they were grasping for a talking point. It's really actually quite sad to think that her.
No, I was talking about it way before Charlie Kirk.
Good for you. Most of them weren't. You can go through most of their Twitter feeds. The people who talked about her death in the aftermath of Charlie Kirk's assassination hadn't talked about it at the time.
Okay,
she was reached out for as a talking point.
I don't agree with that, but what's the point you're?
And the point I'm making is that people have to reach back and try and essentially create reach back to facts that they didn't even pay attention to at the time, that didn't have political valence. Because honestly, the murder of a state senator, while obviously tragic, doesn't have the same political valence as the murder of a national political figure, especially one at the level of Charlie Kirk. And
so the
right is now dealing with the fact that Donald Trump nearly got assassinated twice
by a Republican.
One time where he got shot
by a Republican.
Give me a break.
Okay, so let's talk about that since you don't.
Nonsense.
No,
I won't even hear any of your complaining about
22-year-old
taking the facts seriously by a Republican.
You're the one who's bringing up the assassination.
It's amazing how you like to blame Republicans for their own assassinations. Was the 22-year-old Donald Trump was assassinated?
So tell me then, the 22-year-old who tried to assassinate Donald Trump, who was killed, was he a Republican or a Democrat?
The 22. I have no idea what he was.
You have no idea. He was a registered Republican.
We didn't get any information about it.
No, we did get information. No, we did get information. No, we did get information. He was a registered Republican who came from a Donald Trump family. The only reason why I'm bringing that up is you're making it sound like the left tried to assassinate Donald Trump, which is a lie. You should be ashamed of yourself.
A Trump supporter tried to assassinate Donald Trump.
It's not what I think, sir. He was a registered Republican. It's
How
not.
do you know that means he was a Trump supporter? All registering means that you put your.
You're blaming it on the left
for Donald Trump's assassination. How dare you?
No, that's not what I said. That's not what I said. I need you to pay attention.
You said he's a Trump supporter.
No, I need you to pay attention. You're blaming the left for the assassination attempts of Donald Trump.
I got to stop. All right, I have to get over. We've gotten caught, and we're way past our exit. Sorry, I need to get off the phone.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you. You should be ashamed of yourself, Will. But I do appreciate you coming on the show. Thank you very much. Interesting, isn't it, that Will just ends the conversation, lies about pretty much everything, and then skips out like a coward. Now, listen, I don't think Will will be coming back on this show. I don't think I'll invite him back on the show, but I cannot believe what an imbecile this guy is. And to talk about this, I might as well get right to it because I know he's been chomping at the bits. What an imbecile this guy is. Now, listen, I've had Will on this show before as we bring in Leonard Cardinal. Leonard, I'm sorry you had to sit through that. I've had Will on this show multiple times, and we've had respectful conversations, but I wasn't going to let him get away with the nonsense that he was spewing. What did you make of that?
It was hard to listen to. I mean, it was a mishmash of a word salad sandwich of irrelevant facts and talking points. And every time, you know what I don't like? They come unprepared, and he was not prepared. He kept, when people say things like, oh, I don't know, I forgot, I didn't know that, I have to look into that. Yeah. Do you remember doing endorsement interviews for candidates? You remember doing that back in the day? Whenever we had a candidate come in and we asked them a question about, let's say, collective bargaining, and they're trying to get our endorsement, and they'd be like, oh, well, I don't know too much about that. I have to study it, look into it, get back to you. Did you not prepare?
Well, he lost the argument when he started to say, shame on me for not wanting to celebrate Charlie Kirk's life, which is very different than celebrating his murder, which, by the way, I would never do. And then when I gave actual real statements and quotes that his former friend said, his response, oh, well, that's just a one-off. That's just a one-off. No, no shame on me for not wanting to celebrate the life of a racist bigot. Yes, that's who Charlie Kirk was. And then he comes up here making claims that maybe perhaps Donald Trump won the 2020 election.
He said a lot of things that were untrue. A lot of things. He said so many % of this, and there's a survey out there somewhere. I don't know where it is. You can't. That's not professional. That is someone who's trying to get clicks. But the problem is the MAGA audience is fact tone deaf, right? They don't care about facts. They only hear what this guy says. They only pay attention to what he said to you and go, yeah, that's right. And they don't even listen to the other side. That's how dumb they are.
He said, I agree. He said there's a large faction of the left that if they weren't trying to actually kill you, they would be perfectly happy to see you dead. And I said, can you name me one elected official that you think feels that way? Couldn't name me one. The only person he named was somebody that's running for office. And then I guess he was referring to people on Twitter. What an asinine thing to say.
Can I ask you a
and what an
question?
embarrassment Will Chamberlain is. You are an embarrassment.
Can you be both? Like, can you be a Democrat and say that you're weak because of empathy and because you're compassionate and because you care about truth and the law and justice, and on the other side say, but they're evil people that want to murder and hate? Which one is it? You know, they need to decide. They need to decide which one is it.
I knew he was going to make this argument because I have all the stats right in front of me. Okay, all the stats from violent crime, political crimes of the last 5 to 6 years, and then when I'm ready to bring up the statistics, he says, "Oh, statistics are just fake. That's fake news," right? He used the term fake. So I have all statistics in front of me, but he can just make a blatant, generic claim that the left, a large faction of the left, wants you dead. But then when I have actual statistics, he says that statistics are fake.
And wasn't it in the Washington Post? I mean, they're not exactly a leftist newspaper blaming the left for everything. But he talked about Ghislaine Maxwell. He says that Donald Trump, there's probably pictures of him. And he said, and you said you think his name's in the files. Well, his name's, probably
By the
in
way,
the files.
he's wrong.
And
he's wrong because when he said that Pam Bondi or Kash Patel can't legally answer that question,
that's
Will
inaccurate.
Chamberlain has absolutely no idea what he's talking about. They absolutely have the legal right to answer that question. Everything Will said was a joke.
He's the director of the FBI, the attorney general. It doesn't get any higher. You don't get to say, I can't say that. There's no one else to go to. You're at the highest level.
I've had respectful conversations with Will before. He's been on the show a couple times. But the second he said, shame on me because I refuse to celebrate the life of Charlie Kirk, you can go F yourself, okay? I will never celebrate the life of Charlie Kirk. I will never celebrate the murder of Charlie Kirk.
He was a bad person.
He was not a good guy. I'm not surprised that you, Will Chamberlain, were friends with him. That doesn't shock me. You said that I was gaslighting you.
Gaslighting is trying to get someone to believe something that they know is not true, and you're trying to make them believe that the sky is not blue, it's actually orange, and you're trying to make an argument. That's what gaslighting
I'm going to be honest with you. There are a few times that Will did the show. While I didn't agree with him on a lot of issues, I had respect for him because we had respectful conversation. Any respect that I have had for Will Chamberlain is now completely out the window. I'm going to be honest with you. I have zero respect for you, Will. I will never have you back.
No, he resorted to the usual.
I have zero respect for you. You're gaslighting and lies and nonsense.
Name calling, running away, no valid, lucid argument. Is it too much to ask, Brian? I mean, be honest. Is it too much to ask to say when you're a MAGA or you support the Republicans, call in, talk to Brian, debate with us, bring some facts, bring some lucid, intelligent arguments based in fact. And why do they struggle? What's the problem?
And it's interesting, the end of the interview, he was making the case that the left tried to assassinate Donald Trump. What I tried to do was accurately point out that a 22-year-old in the first assassination attempt was a registered Republican, didn't say Trump supporter, registered Republican, and his family were Trump supporters. And I brought that up, and then conveniently he said, "Oh, come on, Brian." And then the interview was over because he lies. He lies about the left. There are obviously violent people on both sides of the aisle. I would never, say no to that. But then he tried to make the case that Charlie Kirk was more, I guess he made, and correct me if I'm wrong in saying this, his life was more valuable, he was making it sound like, than this poor woman who lost her life in Minnesota, her and her husband, who were executed. And he made it sound like nobody was talking about it before Charlie Kirk was murdered, which is also a lie.
Is that equivalent to serial killers? Like serial killers are popular and they write books and people love them because they were famous. Just because Charlie Kirk was famous doesn't mean what he was doing was a good thing. He was spreading, in my opinion, hate, dissension, division, and his supporters were 100% behind him.
Well, you know what? I'm going to use ad hominem attacks now since he started to use them on me. This is why idiots like Will Chamberlain do the Jack Posobiec show.
Yeah.
Because he says there's a large faction of the left that if they weren't actually trying to kill you, they'd be perfectly happy to see you dead. Couldn't name one prominent Democrat that he believes has that attitude, but then says, well, there's people on social media. Yeah, there's crazy people on social media that'll say a lot of things, Will. That doesn't mean that it's a large faction of the left. And then he goes by
so
one
that's
poll.
his fact check.
Yeah, and then he claims statistics are garbage, he said over and over again. But then he brings up some random poll. Yeah, then he brings up some random poll that says, I guess half of Democrats would be okay with Donald Trump being assassinated. But then when I have actual statistics of actual political violent crime in this country, all of a sudden statistics don't matter. But he brings up some stupid OAN or some stupid Newsmax poll. What a clown this guy is. This is who the right are. They're not journalists. They're not media members. They wear Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. And then when I said, can you give me one logical reason why the Donald Trump administration is treating Maxwell the way they are, because it's unprecedented, as you know, with all the conviction she has, one of the largest sex traffickers on the planet. And I said, Will, why would they treat her this way? And why would they send her to a Club Med? Oh, I don't know.
Well, Ron Filipowski made a really good point, a secondary point. And I also, a third point on Ghislaine Maxwell. Is it possible that he totally intends to pardon her, and what he's doing is he's just waiting to see how the public reacts? You know how politicians do that? They kind of throw something out there, a little bit of bait, to see how the reaction. And I think if enough people agree with him, I think he'll just do it. And he admitted yesterday that Diddy hit him up. Remember when he was talking yesterday, he said, yes, I have been.
Well, let me tell you something.
He requested a pardon.
Let me tell you something. The second the switch turned with me in that interview, and by the way, I could have lost it much earlier. I made it very clear, and anybody who watched this show the day that Charlie Kirk was assassinated and murdered saw the real Brian Shapiro. Okay, I wasn't celebrating, I wasn't laughing, I was emotional. It was a horrible day for the country. But that doesn't mean I'm going to celebrate a bad person's life. And I gave him examples of why I will not celebrate Charlie Kirk's life. And then he said, shame on me. The same guy who supports a 34-count felon adjudicated rapist, the same guy who coddles Donald Trump and coddles the right and attacks the left and says things on the air that are blatant and
you
false
changed
and
when
lies.
he became condescending.
Oh, I don't put up with
and
that.
Accusatory. And once somebody becomes accusatory for no reason, with no basis of fact, and condescending, like he's on some superior position defending people who have been accused of rape.
And by the way,
just don't understand.
he lied about that too. Jimmy
did.
Kimmel wasn't celebrating Charlie Kirk's death either, you freaking clown, you. Jimmy Kimmel wasn't celebrating it. Now he said a MAGA person may have been responsible for it. Yeah, I guess it wasn't a MAGA person, but we don't know his political affiliation.
Jimmy Kimmel's point, not to interrupt you, but his point was he started out with they're trying to blame everybody but. That's exactly what Jimmy Kimmel said. So his point was not targeting anyone. He said they immediately tried to blame everybody else but, and then I think he mentioned MAGAs, and they kind of connected the dots, but that's not really what he said.
Let me be very clear, and I'll say it once again, and it's sad that I have to keep repeating this. Anybody out there who actually was jumping up for joy and celebrating the murder of Charlie Kirk, I've said it very clearly, I think you're wrong in doing so. But the fact of the matter is that a large faction of the left was not celebrating the death of Charlie Kirk.
Where did he get that from?
It's a lie. He doesn't want to talk about statistics because he claims that's fake news. He makes gross mischaracterizations about the left all the time. Conveniently, when I bring up things that don't support his argument that are facts, he plays stupid and he doesn't know. I don't care if Charlie Kirk was his boyfriend, quite frankly. I don't care. I am not going to sit here. I will say I'm sorry for the loss of your friend, which, by the way, I did say. I'm sorry that he was murdered. I feel for his family and friends, but I am not going to celebrate his death. And if you think I'm shameful for doing that, then you can go F yourself, because I really don't care, because I don't mourn the loss. There's a difference between mourning and not mourning and celebrating. I'm not going to mourn the loss of what I think was
anybody's
what
death.
I think was a bad person. I have the right as an American. I'm not celebrating the death, but I'm also not mourning his death any more than I mourned the day after Rush Limbaugh died. Okay?
Brian, you said it the day it happened. You were on the air. And you said, I don't condone political violence. I was listening.
Over and over again. I was emotional. I thought it was horrible.
Happen to anyone.
Horrible.
And I feel bad for his wife and his kids.
That's the first thing I thought about.
And this shouldn't, no one
the
should,
first thing
no family should have to go through this.
Yep.
But at the same time, people act like they can't differentiate.
They can't.
They can't discern the fact that you say this is a terrible tragedy. It shouldn't happen to anyone. However, I didn't respect the guy. I thought he had hate speech and division. That's all you're saying.
So, Will, you're just your typical MAGA idiot who wears the Donald Trump knee pads 24/7. You want to blame the left for all of your problems, and you make money with your hateful rhetoric. You're no different than Jack Posobiec. You're no different than Ben Shapiro. You're no different than any of those idiots on the right that are in Portland right now that are hoping for a scuffle so they can go viral. Will Chamberlain, you're no better than any of them, and you're despicable. I think what I want to do is I want to take a quick break, and then we'll take some phone calls on the other side. What a difference in interviews. I mean, I'm interviewing one of the smartest guys around in Ron Filipkowski. And then on the other side of that, I'm interviewing a guy by the name of Will Chamberlain. I didn't realize what a nutcase he was. So we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back with some phone calls on the other side. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helb's Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
You are way too smart, way too talented, way too good to be where you are. You are meant to be making way more money, feel way hotter in your body, and having way more fun. Hi, I'm Nicole Mitchell, and I'm a life coach. I help you get hotter and richer. If that is what you're looking for, you can find me at NicoleMitchell.com. My name, Nicole, is with a K, NicoleMitchell.com. You can reach out to me on my website or on Instagram, and I will be happy to be in touch and figure out what you're looking for and how I can support you in getting there.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a very fiery Tuesday. I got to tell you, I didn't see the interview going that way with Will Chamberlain, if you just missed it. But I'm always ready. I had him on because he said some things about the left that obviously are not true. And I had statistics ready to go, but he didn't want to hear my
say something that you're not going to say?
Go ahead.
In the live chat I was watching, and my opinion is you torched him, right? He was cooked. He was frustrated. And I know you would never say that, but I want people to know, because there could be tens of thousands of people listening or more right now, that you absolutely cooked him. And I hope you put some clips on later, because I would really like to see some of them clips of him just with that look on his face, like what? You do you not know?
Yeah.
So that was pretty
amazing.
That was a great interview.
We all thank you. I appreciate that. We always go to MAGA callers first if they disagree with me or they think I'm wrong. So let's go to Herb. Herb is first up on PTL. Hello, Herb. Herb, are you there?
Herb.
Brian,
Herb,
I just want to say something to you.
Okay.
I just want to say, I don't understand why you had to do with this poor man like this. He was making some very good points.
He started it.
You're just a mean man.
No.
You just don't like people that don't agree with you.
Herb, I don't know why you would say that. I don't know why you would say that.
Let me ask you something. This is Leonard. If somebody's accusatory towards you and condescending toward you personally, are you telling me you're not going to stand up for yourself? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're proposing?
What I'm saying, Leonard, is that he didn't have to do that for a man like that.
Why not?
All he was doing was
he's a grown man who was talked down to, and he didn't like it. And it was accusatory. What would you do, Herb, if I talked down to you? What would you do?
I don't care if you talk down to me.
Okay, well, he does.
Loser. I know I'm a moron. I could care less.
He's on a podcast talk show, and you want him to say nothing to someone who's being condescending and accusatory and saying, "Oh, I'm surprised at you," and acting like he's a dad or something.
Leonard, this is how much credibility I have. This is how much credibility Irv has. Okay,
go ahead. I'm listening.
I'm a right-wing buffoon, right? I wear the Donald Trump uniform 24/7. But yet I call into Brian's radio show.
I want this clip
every single week, and I get owned, and I get manhandled, and I just love it. I can't take it anymore. Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a fantastic Herb impersonation. A fantastic.
Thanks, Herb.
You had me dying, my friend. You are the best, Brian.
That was a great first phone call.
I appreciate your call, Brian. Thank you very much. You had me going there. That was funny. That was great. All right, let's go to Brett. Brett is next up on PTL. What's up, Brett?
Hey, what's up, Brian?
Hey.
Leonard, how are you guys doing?
Hi there.
Good.
I know that wasn't.
Yo, great job with that clown, but at this point, I think it's just a waste of time to even speak to these people. I mean, how do you speak to somebody when you give them facts and legitimate responses, and their answer is that everything's a lie, everybody's lying, everybody except Trump, who's, I mean, the way he lies is just unprecedented.
I can't wait. Can I ask you a question? I'm going to take a poll here. What part of the interview, I mean, there were so many parts that were outrageous. What do you think is the craziest part of that interview? Because I'm going to be posting all that stuff on social media today.
The Maxwell stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, to justify him moving Maxwell, there is absolutely no legitimate reason for him to put her in a minimum security.
He defended it. He defended it. And he's like, well, I don't know why they would do that. I don't know.
That's just common sense.
Yeah, of course. Everything that you said, his response was, I don't know. And if he did say he knew, it was just absolutely absurd.
And then he said, I don't believe in stats. Stats don't tell the whole story. And then he gives statistics in the next sentence.
There's no reason to even have these people on. They have nothing. They can't justify this.
Well, listen,
nothing.
I will tell you this, for anybody who has listened to this show for a while, I've had Will on this show a few other times, and even though I disagree with him, I was able to have, respectful conversations.
Yeah, I've heard it. I've heard you.
But he has gone off the deep end. He has gone off the deep end, and I had him on today because he said some crazy stuff on the Jack Posobiec show. I was ready because I come prepared for these interviews, and he couldn't defend his absurdity. He couldn't defend the ridiculousness of it all. And I find that to be so problematic. He didn't try
to mitigate anything he said.
No, he said,
yeah, I said that. I believe that.
He gives me some poll. I don't even know that half the Democrats want Republicans unalived. And then, so he's okay with that poll. But yet when I bring him actual statistics on right-wing political violence, and then he calls it all fake news. I mean, it's just no credibility.
He said, I read it somewhere. It was on about a social media.
Yeah. What a joke. What a joke. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next up on PTL. Hi, Jason.
Hey, man, what a great interview. The Exposed MAGA. That was actually so awesome. But here's everybody could change facts, but here's the truth. And I believe Donald Trump is a pedophile, because when you go into Teen USA and say, I love to look at little teenage girls naked, that's number one. And then number two, to say you want to sleep with your own daughter, you watch her grow up from a baby and you want to sleep with your own daughter, that's called sick. And then most of all, and this is real important to me, Brian, so I hope you understand, I want every pedophile that is a grown man that wants to sleep with a little 3-year-old, I want them all to die. I digress.
I don't disagree with you, Jason. I mean, I can understand why you would feel that way, and I do appreciate your phone call. Thank you very much. 702-221-7283. I'm glad some of the callers are just as fired up as I was in that interview, because I got a little ticked off, I'll be honest with you. I don't let someone on my show be condescending to me. No, I do the condescending stuff.
And why would you?
Yeah.
Why would anybody do that?
Oh my God. Shame on you for not honoring the life of Charlie Kirk. Screw you, man. Screw you. I'll do whatever the hell I want to do. Doesn't mean I'm celebrating what happened to him, but who the hell are you to say that I should be celebrating the life of somebody that I think was a bad human being? I don't care how close a friend you were to him. I could care
Brian,
less.
you don't have to mourn anybody that you don't want to mourn. You don't have to feel bad or send prayers and thoughts for anyone.
Yes, I agree.
That is your right
agree.
to decide how to use your feelings.
I agree. Thank you.
And he's trying to tell you how to use your feelings.
Ridiculous. One more phone call, and then we're going to go to the YouTube super chat. Let's go to Chris. Chris is next up on PTL. Hey, Chris, what's going on? Did we lose Chris? Was he a MAGA supporter? Let me guess. He was a Trump supporter. Or maybe that was Will Chamberlain trying to call back.
Got too straight as Chris?
That was Will Chamberlain.
Yeah,
trying
this
to
is
call
Chris,
back. Yeah.
and I agree with Will.
I agree with everything that guy said. Yeah, we should all honor Charlie Kirk. We should give him the Medal of Freedom.
Yeah, he didn't have any statistics or facts or anything, but he was right.
Yeah, he was right. No statistics, no facts, but he was right. Oh my God, what a joke. Let's go to the YouTube super chat really quickly. The other disgusted veteran says, your guest will be back me on this. You have the right and responsibility to refuse an unlawful order. Also, it says in our oath, all enemies, foreign and domestic, these things are basic. Yes, they are basic.
I took that oath. I had to take that oath.
I agree. Yeah, you're right. If you're a police officer, of course. Fanatic says a trafficker with no clients is like a cartel with no bulk buyers.
Yeah.
So they're just flying underage girls to island resorts like MAGA a wish. That's actually a good point. MAGA a wish, great point. Fanatic also says, I do blame Republicans for Kirk's demise because they made hate profitable. Well, to an extent, I certainly agree with that, although I do hold the person who pulled the trigger responsible.
Well, didn't the shooter say it had to stop? I mean, he was out of his mind. He was deranged.
Yeah.
But he was anti-fascist, and he said the hate has to stop. Isn't that what he texted to his roommate?
That is true. And by the way, this idiot Will Chamberlain brings up the fact, I knew he was going to do this, transgender boyfriend. Like,
yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to get into that or not, but where was he going with that? Because he's an
idiot.
He threw it in as an aside, try to squeeze, and you called him on it and said, well,
what is that relevant?
How is that relevant? Because they're a transgender?
Yeah.
You know what it is? That's red meat for the base.
Well, guess what? Right-wing idiots, talking points don't work on this show. I won't allow it. And that's why he dodged like the coward that he is. All right. Where are we at here? Eileen says, please don't bring that guy back and Pollock back. They make my heart hurt. I'm sorry about that. I don't want to make your heart hurt, but I do enjoy going after them a little bit. I do enjoy, showing them how ridiculous they are. We'll get back to the YouTube super chat here in a few where your questions and comments will be heard, by the way. Am I missing any? Did I miss any? Okay. No, let's go. Let's see. Who are we going to do next? Let's go to Paul from the UK. Paul, what's going on,
Paul.
Hey,
hi, Lawrence. Hi, Brian.
Hey.
I wouldn't have called in today because I called in yesterday, but listening to that interview, I thought I wanted to put in my 2 pence, what we say in England. A guy was talking about coming up with it's a left problem. I'll tell you the simplest answer to that. The 2 divisions in your country come from leadership. That's who drives it. And the most powerful man in the country promotes violence. That's the one voice you have to listen to. The most powerful man in the country, the other day to the Navy, talked about brushing a gnat off his shoulder, which was the Democrats.
And isn't it interesting, though, Paul?
The man in the country.
You're right. So, yeah. Paul, isn't it interesting that I bring up the story from a few weeks ago? Everybody knows what happened with this horrible shooting that took place in this church from a Trump supporter. And don't you find it convenient that he didn't know anything about that? Or when I bring up some of the statements that Charlie Kirk made on his podcast the day after Paul Pelosi was bludgeoned with a hammer, and simple, he didn't know about that statement, or he said, oh, well, that's just a one-off. And then he brings up some stupid poll. I don't know where he got it from. He wants to back up his claims on some random poll. But yet when I bring up actual statistics from violent crimes that are committed from the right when it comes to political violence, all of a sudden he calls that fake news. How do you have a conversation with somebody? This guy's so off the deep end.
Mr. Chamberlain came here unprepared. And and it's unprofessional for him to come on a professional podcast as popular as Brian's is, and to come on here unprepared to have a debate.
I couldn't agree with you more. I'm a mathematician. Let me tell you, I could produce statistics for you that show that black is white and up is down, if that's what you paid me to do. The important thing about any statistical survey is understanding the underlying data and how it was actually interpreted. If you understand that, you can determine if it's a credible survey. Now, these right-wing buffoons, as you call them, Brian, are constantly looking for surveys that suit their purpose and paying for surveys that suit their purpose.
Yeah.
And getting the data they want.
Yep.
What I look at is what the leader, the most powerful man in the world, is saying. What he's saying and what he's doing. He's the one who's promoting violence. Would J6 happen without Trump? Of course not.
Of course not. But don't you find it interesting, my friend? And I appreciate your call because I want to get to some other callers. That when I bring up Tom Homan and I bring up the $50,000 duffel bag payment, that Pam Bondi will not release the video,
and she wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah,
today.
and Will Chamberlain. Oh, that's a red herring. I don't really care about that. Oh, how interesting! You care about Hunter Biden selling paintings, but you don't care about Tom Homan, who probably accepted a $50,000 bribe.
She was asked today in the investigation, does it show that he actually took the money? She refused to answer.
What a complete idiot. Anyway, my goodness, let's go to Scott on line 2. Scott is next up on PTL. Hey, Scott, what's going on? Hey, Scott. Scotty, can we beam you up, please, Scotty? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I had to put the phone down. I couldn't. I had to put my radio down earlier. I couldn't stand what that MF was saying. These are the same people who cheer when Democrats get killed or hurt. These are the same people. Everything is Democrats' fault, and they could eat a big fat sausage as far as I care. And I'm at a point where I just don't give a damn. They need to go. In one way, they need to go. In one way, it's good that they have a voice because we need to know what they're doing. But, this
I will say this. I received some information, and I don't know if this is true or not, allegedly that George Santos is eating a large sausage right now as we speak behind bars. 702-221.
That's what he said, eat a large sausage.
7022, Lindsey Graham. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Albert. Albert is next up on PTL. Hey, Albert, what's up?
Hey, Brian, how's it going?
Good. What's on your mind today?
I normally would go off on these tiny rants about Trump and all these other idiots, but I want to do some impressions of all these morons, and maybe you can use it for radio.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Sure.
I'm going to do Christy Nome first, and then I might as well do Joe Arpaio, and then the Antichrist, a little weasel himself, Ben Shapiro. How about that?
I like that. That's a good nickname for him. I like that.
Although you do a pretty good
Can we do Ben Shapiro first? Can we have a discussion with each other?
Brian does a really good
How about Ben Shapiro versus Ben Shapiro? How about that?
Yeah.
All right. Well, hello there. Hi, Albert. Please don't interrupt me, Albert. It's my show. Would you agree with me that if Israel bombed every single country in the world, we would still support Benjamin Netanyahu?
Of course, we will absolutely support Benjamin Netanyahu because Benjamin Netanyahu is my baby daddy. Obviously.
Why did you fire Candace Owens? It's because of the color of her skin. Can you tell me why? Why did you fire? Why did I fire Candace Owens?
Exactly, because I fired her because of her skin. And I want somebody just like me with constant fans and who also sounds like he has a freaking helium balloon stuck up his teeth.
That's pretty good.
Why did you hire Matt Walsh? I'm holding my nose now. Why did you hire Matt Walsh? He spreads so much bigotry and hatred. Now, I Ben Shapiro, and I enjoy that, but do you, Ben Shapiro?
I do, but then again, racism
Ben
doesn't
Shapiro
exist.
versus Ben Shapiro.
I can't do it anymore. The guy's such a little weasel. I can't do it anymore. Who is the other impersonation you wanted to do? Who else? Who would you?
Joe Arpaio.
Oh, let's hear it, Joe. Go right ahead. Joe Arpaio.
This is Sheriff Joe Arpaio, Sheriff from Maricopa County, Arizona, and I just want to say to Ben Shapiro, why don't you come down here to Maricopa County and say all these criticisms to my face? I am not a convicted felon. I was doing my job.
I'll tell you what. If you pay me $55 million, I'll come down there and I'll debate you and a bunch of 18 and 19-year-old liberals. $55 million plus first-class airfare, and I'll do it.
I think he's saying he was wrongly accused. Were you wrongly accused?
Yes, I was wrongfully accused, even though I was being racist, along with my county attorney husband, Andy Candy Thomas.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. Who else do we have on the line? Do we have somebody else on the line? Don't we?
Christy Noam.
Oh, Christy. How are your dogs doing, Christy?
Oh, God.
How are your dogs doing, Christy?
Christy,
you're talking about, Brian. I'm Christy Nome, and I just want to say that
Christy, you have a very deep voice today. Your voice is very deep
She
today.
must have a
Christy.
cold or something.
I'm Christy Nome, and I just want to say thank you, President Trump, even though I sound completely stupid, and the people of South Park don't even know what an attractive woman is like, because I'm extremely attractive, and I'm a lot more hotter.
Mom, can I ask you a question? Can I ask you why the ICE agents are wearing masks and unmarked vans and just randomly throwing people in the vans?
Judge, and I don't care, and people don't want to criticize me in a killer. You guys do the same exact. Oh, my face!
Christy, I gotta let you go.
Christy just lost it.
I think Christy just lost her mind. Thank you for the call, Christy Noam, Ben Shapiro, and Joe Arpaio. Wow, that was very unexpected.
We get everybody calling the show.
Let's go to Margie. Is this Marjorie Taylor Greene? Margie's next on PTL. Hello, Margie.
No, this is not Margie Taylor Greene, please.
Good. Thank goodness. My head will explode. Go right ahead, Margie.
Okay, first of all, let me for president because I don't live in Nevada.
Man, I can't. That's one. I think that's 2 votes for president.
Okay. The other thing I want to mention is all these violence and stuff people are talking about. People need to understand this all started with Trump. What happened the first time he was in office. And it's happening again, only now he's way worse than he was the first time.
Yeah.
And I'm really afraid of martial law because I really do think that's what he's after, to stop the midterms, and 2, to keep these friggin' Epstein files hidden.
Yeah, Governor Pritzker said that yesterday, Margie. He actually said what I've been saying for probably a couple of months. It's incremental martial law, that it has nothing to do with crime. They want us to be able to go into cities and have the military set up so there's no kind of pushback, there's no people marching, and if they get violent and they push it too far, they'll put them all in jail. And I think we're going to have a pseudo martial law country. I think that's the goal. I agree with you.
Yeah, I agree as well, and I appreciate the call, my dear. I have a favor to ask of all of you. If some of you have Twitter, if you have social media, I would ask you to find Will Chamberlain on social media and tell him what a clown he is and how he embarrassed himself on my show.
I will. I'll do it later.
Yeah, so he's on there somewhere. I think he goes under a different name. He does have a large following.
It was hard for me to find yesterday. I was looking up some stuff, and
he does have he has a fairly large following. And he was on my best friend's show, Jack Posobiec's show, his podcast. But anyway, find him on social media and let him know and tag me on what a clown he made himself out to be. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Jake. Jake is next up on PTL. Hey, Jake, what's going on?
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes. What's going on, Jake?
Hey, man. I was just watching that interview with Will, and I just want to remind everybody that as anti-Trump constituents, we need to do a better job of pushing back on this narrative that all of the political violence is coming from the left right now. I mean, did you see that thing with Megyn Kelly a couple weeks ago where she got called out by some student about that statistic about 70% of political violence coming from the right? Actually, she flipped out. She couldn't answer the question.
It's a lie. Yeah, it's a blatant lie.
I thought Brian pushed back pretty well.
Yeah, I think he did too. Yeah.
And that's I think that's why the show is as popular as it is because there's a lot of people out there thinking that these stupid talking points and these non-facts need to be pushed back on.
Here's the thing. If somebody that I disagree with is going to be respectful to me, even though they make ridiculous claims, I'm not going to go that next level. But when he said shame on me because I won't celebrate the life of Charlie Kirk, that was the end of it for him. What a ridiculous thing to say, that I have to somehow honor somebody who I think had no honor. He could have been a good father and a good husband. It doesn't mean he was a all-around good human being. He spread bigotry and hatred. So I should have to honor somebody's life?
Yeah, he was like, why aren't you honoring him like us?
It's ridiculous.
That's what he was saying.
It's ridiculous. Shame on him. Shame on him.
Shame on him.
What a geek. We're looking at his picture right now on Twitter. What a geek. What a geek.
Shame on him.
Can I just clarify, Brian? I think you did a great job. I'm just saying the Democrats in general need to do a better job of pushing back on this.
Well, when it comes to a lot of this rhetoric on the right, I would agree with you. When some moron goes on a show and says there's a large faction of the left that if they're not trying to kill you, they would prefer you to lose your life. And I'm like, you know what? That's such BS and it's such nonsense. And then when they blame the left for the assassination attempts on Trump, when it was a freaking Republican the first go around, and the second guy was somebody who voted for Trump in 2016, and they want to blame the left. These people are liars. They are liars, and they are scumbags of what
Jake,
they are.
we have a leadership problem. That's what's going on.
Oh, we do.
Yeah.
You're right. I agree with you, Jake. I think that's very fair
We have
criticism.
a true leadership problem.
I agree with you. 702-221-7283. 702-221-SAVE. If you're a MAGA supporter out there and you think Pam Bondi's hearing was a good hearing and she was honest and sincere, and I'd love to hear from you. Let's go to Joe. Joe is next on PTL. Hi, Joe.
Hey, how's it going, Brian?
Good.
I was calling because I heard most of your interview with Will there, and it just reminded me that it seems, what's the old adage, that everything a conservative accuses you of is a confession that they're doing it. He immediately dismissed, statistics and stuff like that you started to give him, but he also said that they're fake, which just sort of makes me think that, they're not afraid to manipulate their own statistics and surveys and things like that. They have a tendency to force the question, and it's just like liberals tend to use the data to come to a conclusion, and conservatives tend to use conclusions to try and find and manipulate and fabricate data to fit it. You know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, it really is mesmerizing that somebody on any show can get away with saying that a large faction of the left wants you gone. I mean, it's
He's
amazing.
just looking for clicks. There's no reality in that statement.
And then when I bring up all these horrible crimes that have been taking place, nothing.
Nothing
Oh,
to
I don't
say.
know about that. I don't know about this. And then
No, I didn't hear about that.
Let me tell you something. I bring up what Charlie Kirk said the day after Paul Pelosi was attacked with a hammer. Now, Charlie Kirk did say, I don't condone this. I don't condone the violence. But then he made jokes about it, and he was smiling, and he was calling people heroes who bailed this guy out. You could, for 99,
like Don Jr.'s Halloween costume, and it's all similar stuff.
Exactly. The Halloween costume was despicable.
Underwear and a hammer.
Let me be very clear. You can do 3 hours of saying how horrible it was that Paul Pelosi was attacked. But if you take 30 seconds out of that 3 hours and make a joke about attempted murder, I'm going to call you out. I have not made a joke about Charlie Kirk losing his life. I haven't, and I never will. It's horrible. Murder can never be condoned. It can never be celebrated. But it doesn't mean I'm going to sit here and celebrate his life, because I will say it again. I believe Charlie Kirk was a bad guy. And I don't care how many people close to him like, oh, he was a great father. He was a great husband. No. Anybody who spreads bigotry and hatred towards minorities, towards those of a different sexual preference and women, you are a terrible father to your daughters. Okay. That's my personal opinion. And I'm entitled to my opinion, and shame on him. That's what I say. Shame on him.
And then they'll just hand wave away anything that is directly connected to themselves, as if, they don't feel that they did anything wrong because they don't think it's wrong. Yeah. But they immediately, if they're the
about
ones
relevant
attacked, it's the
current
worst
news.
thing.
And the guy's saying he didn't know about relevant current news that's within the last few days or last couple of weeks. That's a lie. I'm saying it right here. That's a lie.
What is Will Chamberlain's handle on Twitter? No, I thought it was something else. What is his handle? It is Will Chamberlain.
But then
Okay.
also,
By the way,
like nobody's ever heard of Melissa Hortman. I mean, it was national news for weeks when it happened, when they were also trying to.
Listen, he said so many ridiculous
And Trump
things.
said the same thing, right?
When you look up somebody's profile, and their profile picture or on top of it is a picture of Donald Trump putting his fist up, that's all you need to know about who that person is. Okay. That's all you need to know.
Complete sellout.
Yeah. It's just pathetic. It's pathetic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'll
for
let
the
you
call.
guys keep going.
Thank you for
Yeah,
the
no
call,
problem.
my friend.
Thank you.
Who do we have next up here? Oh, wow. Apparently we have Marjorie Taylor Greene on the line.
Oh, great.
I've been wanting to talk to her for a long time and talk to her about her strong horse legs. Hi, Marjorie. How are you today?
Mr. Shapiro.
Marjorie?
Now, you have no reason to talk to that gentleman like you did.
Who is that?
He has his feelings because he was a friend of Charlie Kirk, and you have no reason to talk to him that way. And you know that all the political violence is on the left. It is.
Well, that's not true.
I mean, it's on the right. It is not on the left.
Miss Green, can I?
You
can I
sound.
ask-
Hold
can
on
I-
a second. She sounds confused.
No, it's on the left. It's not on the right.
Miss Green, we appreciate that you voted to release the Epstein files. Do you believe that Donald Trump was in the Epstein files?
I do not. I believe that there are a bunch of Democrats in that. I do not believe that President Trump is in there at all.
How's your boyfriend doing, Brian Glenn? By the way, I've gotten into.
I don't know. I don't care.
You don't care about your
I'm
boyfriend?
talking to you right now.
You don't care about your boyfriend, Brian Glenn? He
I'm
seems like-
talking to you right now, and you disrespected that gentleman
How did I disrespect
on
him?
your radio.
What did I say that was disrespectful? Tell me what I
This
said.
should be good.
What did I say?
You talked to him disrespectfully.
Well, what did I say that was disrespectful,
Can you
Marjorie?
describe it, MTG?
Three-toe. What did I say?
MTG?
Well, Brian, you know what you said. Everybody
No,
knows
I
what
don't
you
actually.
said.
I really don't, Marjorie. Three-toe. I
Is
really
she a
don't.
real- are you a real MAGA?
To him.
How do you get your legs so strong, Marjorie? Serious question. You got.
What is it?
How do
I
you
didn't
get
hear
those,
you.
How do
I'm
you,
sorry.
How do you get those strong
How
horse
can you make
legs?
that butch body?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Hey.
yeah, it's strong.
Hey, buddy, I work out.
You do.
I have got a
You look like you
for sure.
you look like you work out just about as much as Donald Trump works out. Is swinging a golf club, you know, it doesn't count,
Hey.
right?
I work out. I've got a
Okay.
stripper pole in my house.
Well, that I actually believe. I believe you and Lauren Boebert use that pole quite often. Thank you for the call, Marjorie. I appreciate it. Wow,
funny.
a poll in the home of Marjorie Taylor Greene.
How many
I lost my
impersonators are we going to
appetite.
get today?
I lost my appetite. The other disgusted veteran on the YouTube super chat says during World War II liberations, they had special treatment set aside for, I can't use that, the N-word, collaborators. It's history. Band of Brothers portrays this well. But I say N-word, I mean a word to describe Germans back in the day. That is a word that you cannot use on TikTok. 702-221-7283 is the number to call if you would like to be a part of the conversation. Foxboy says MAGA is the party of narcissists. I certainly agree with you. Let's go to Dave. Dave is next up on PTL. 702-221-7283. What's up, Dave?
Hey, what's up, boys?
Hey,
when this nightmare's all over, I hope and pray they get that damn Pam Bondi and that Stephen Miller. I can't stand either one of those.
Can I ask you a question,
that
Dave?
chick yeah, go ahead.
About that, do you think that once Trump is no longer in power and it goes back to the Democrats, do you some people believe there'll be indictments, there'll be grand juries, there'll be indictments, and it could result because they don't have the same protections that the president. There's no immunity for attorney generals, for example.
Man, I just don't know anymore.
I don't know anymore either. I don't know anymore either.
Do they go pre-party?
Man, I just don't trust these people. I mean, I don't trust in the system no more. I don't trust no one.
Well, there's no one to go to because First Amendment rights are under attack. There's the courts are under attack. Judges are under attack. The rule of law is under attack. The military is under attack. So I can understand, but don't give up. That's what I would tell people.
Yeah.
Don't give up. Keep voting. Keep telling other friends to vote. Get people signed up. Get in the register and have a voice like you have today.
Absolutely.
Thank you for the call, my friend. I appreciate it. Good to hear from you. By the way, for a programming note for people out there that are wondering, because I like to talk to real journalists and real people that are actually in the front lines and out there in Portland. So tomorrow on the program, we are going to have somebody on the show who actually is on the grounds as a real journalist to tell us what's really going on there in Portland. Not some right-wing fool like a Sortor or that Katie chick or these idiots that fly out there and try to, record a scuffle and blame the left
They're
for
trying
everything.
to get clicks.
Yeah,
It's obvious.
idiots like Will Chamberlain. We actually have a real journalist who's coming on the show tomorrow to give us a real layout of what's going on there in Portland on literally 100 to 200 feet of roadway in Portland.
I can't wait to see how that goes.
Yeah, so we look forward to that. Number to call again if you want to be a part of the program is 702-221-7283. We're talking about a number of different things today. We're talking about Pam Bondi and her testimony or lack thereof today in the hearing.
She had an attack prepared for every single Democrat that questioned her.
She did.
She did. She had a personal attack prepared for every single one.
And she wouldn't answer any questions.
She's supposed
directly.
to be nonpartisan. She's supposed to be there for truth and justice. And it was just one big Republican attack.
And she wouldn't answer any questions directly when it came to Jeffrey Epstein or when it came to Tom Homan. Same Kash Patel type hearing where they won't answer any direct questions. And we know why they won't, because they're only there to protect one person, and that's their boss, Donald J. Trump. 702-221-SAVE. And again, that number, if you want to be a part of the conversation, is 702-221-7283. I'm wondering if any MAGA supporters out there would actually defend Pam Bondi today. I'm sure there are some. Love to hear from you. Let's go to Julie. Julie is next up on PTL. What's up, Julie?
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go right ahead.
Okay, you couldn't hear me last time. You got real good. You got real good, and you got Pollock real good. Pollock, every time I see him, I see red because all he wants to do is gaslight, and so did Will. Yeah. Both of them just love to gaslight, try to make everybody look like the bad guy instead of them actually being the bad guy.
Well, let me tell you, I appreciate that. Let me tell you something. Will is the kind of guy, he walks into a room and he thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. That doesn't always work on this show. And I'm not saying I'm always the smartest guy in the room, but Will has the attitude. He's very condescending, and he has the attitude that he knows everything and you know nothing. That doesn't work with me because I was prepared and he wasn't, and he proved it.
David Pollack yesterday was the same way, if you don't mind me saying.
Yeah.
He was complete. I was listening to the show. He's completely unprepared. He had no facts, no figures. It was a bunch of useless talking points and nonsensical theories that had no end to, no point to what he was saying. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for the call. Thank you for the kind words. I appreciate that. 702-221-7283. We have somebody on the line named the Donald Trump Reaper. The Trump Reaper. Hello, Trump. Hello, Trump Reaper.
Hi.
I'm good.
I was just wondering, the No Kings 2 protest on October 18th. What was I going to say? How big is that exactly supposed to be? Because I've gone to the website, and
I don't know what website. I'm not involved in that, so I can't give you that answer. I'm not involved in that, my friend.
Oh, no, I'm saying,
yeah.
If you go to the website, it's nokings.org, and look at the map. You can see.
That's coming up on October 18th, and I don't know much about it.
I don't know anything about that. We have Christy Noem on the line, so I got to get to Christy Noem.
Christy Noem, wow, they're all calling.
Yeah,
today.
The puppy shooter. Hey, Christy.
Hey, Brian. Hello.
It's a really
what's your name?
Horrible. Doesn't sound like Christy Noem, but that's
she must
okay.
have a cold or something.
It's a bad impersonation, but that's okay. Go ahead.
Well,
Continue.
the hormones have kicked in, so I'm going to sound like this for a little while.
Oh,
I can't believe what they did to me the other day. All I wanted to use is use the restroom, and they wouldn't allow me to come into the restroom.
Probably because they didn't know which restroom you should go in. That's probably why. They didn't want to guess.
Well, I don't know about that, but
okay.
I just want to call in and say that it was un-American for them to do so, and I'm going to make sure that put their name on that ICE list.
Do you think it was inconsiderate?
Because I see a puppy in the backyard, and I got to get rid of it. So.
It was very inconsiderate not allowing her to use the restroom.
I wonder if she had to go in her pants like Donald Trump.
Not as inconsiderate as men in masks throwing people in vans, but somewhat inconsiderate.
702-221-7283. Let's go to David. David is next on PTL. What's up, David? David, go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey, hi, Brian. Hey, when you and that, I can only call that guy a pompous ass that was on your show here earlier. We're talking details about this Robinson kid. You know, I've been watching different ballistics experts on YouTube here for the last 3 days, and my goodness, there are so many things that are being hidden and are not being discussed as far as ballistics and how he was killed. And also, the autopsy report is completely contrary to what everyone else is saying. I think that can be a good discussion point for your show.
Charlie Kirk, correct?
Yeah, he's talking about Charlie Kirk. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Right. Yep.
Well, you know, my opinions of Charlie Kirk have never changed. My opinions did not change of him the seconds when I was live on the air and I found out he was murdered. It
Yeah,
didn't,
I saw you.
And as you
Yeah.
know, it didn't mean I
Yep.
was happy. I wasn't. I said it was a
Nope.
very sad day for the country. I still feel that
Oh,
way.
no.
I still feel for his kids who have to grow up without a father, and his wife, as a lunatic that she is, still has to be there without her husband. And I do feel for them. It's horrible, even though as strange as her reactions have been in the last few weeks, still. But that doesn't mean I have to sit here and mourn the guy and have to celebrate his life.
And how about be told?
Yeah.
Being told how to mourn.
Yeah,
That you should feel sorry for him, and aren't you upset? Who says that? What kind of people tell you what to be upset about?
It's just
Like
insane.
narcissists,
Yeah,
right?
it's just
Control
insanity.
freaks.
Just because this guy was friends with Charlie Kirk. And by the way, I said I'm sorry for the loss of your friend, but how dare you say that I should be shamed? Shame on me because I'm not.
He just loved talking down to you. He just loved talking down to you. And then when you brought up any good point, he would go, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd have to. He was totally unprepared, totally unprofessional, my opinion.
Well, that's the problem.
And Leonard,
That's the problem.
I was going to ask Leonard too. Leonard, you were a cop. You know about ballistics and things, don't you? As have witnessed things.
What did you ask me?
Ballistics.
Well, about ballistics.
Well, in the Charlie Kirk
and
shooting, they said it
But you
was
were a
what, a
cop.
30-06, 200 yards with a hunting rifle and a scope. I mean, that's not a very hard shot. It was a little less than 200 yards, and a 30-06 is a big game, and it does a lot of damage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you should go online on YouTube and see some of these ballistics experts.
I've seen
and
so
what
many,
tests they've
but the
been doing.
problem is no one knows for sure if a lot of the hand signals and the guy shooting under his arm, no one knows if those are fake videos or real videos or what really you can rely on.
Okay,
so I don't
listen,
really go too
I'm
much.
going to
by
give
that.
you my opinion, and this is just my opinion. I do believe that one person was responsible for this. I don't believe that. I don't believe that it was more than one person. I think you have one lunatic, and I'm very comfortable calling him that. One lunatic who decided to execute a horrible crime that
He was
he committed.
mentally ill.
A mentally
For
ill,
sure.
and this wasn't the left, and it wasn't because of his transgender boyfriend, and it had nothing to do with any elected officials or any rhetoric, maybe than the own rhetoric of Charlie Kirk that helped lead to his demise. And I am not defending what took place. It's horrible, but it's a terrible thing that happened. I don't believe it was an inside job. I believe it was one horrific individual that executed.
I wish Charlie was alive now. Wish this had never happened.
Yeah, it's horrible. It's a horrible situation. It's
Because
bad
we
for the
wouldn't have
country.
all this BS going on right now.
That's a good point. If he was still alive, every one of us would be okay with that.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it, my friend, and I appreciate your call. Beverly's next up on
Getting
PTL.
close.
What's up, Beverly? Hi, Beverly.
Hello.
Hello.
I appreciate
You're on, Beverly.
Lower your radio if you can, because it's going to confuse you. We're on a little bit of a delay.
Hi, Beverly. Okay. Hello.
Can you lower that for me?
I turned it down.
Okay, thank you, Beverly. Go right ahead.
Uh-huh. Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. Can
Yes.
you hear us?
Hello, Beverly.
Hello.
I don't
Hello.
think she can hear us.
Hi, Beverly. Hello, Beverly.
Yes, I think I hear you.
Hi, Beverly. Hello, Beverly. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I just called
Hi,
in
Beverly.
today.
How are you? Are you doing okay, Beverly? I'm kidding. I'm sorry. I'm joking now, Beverly. Go ahead. I apologize.
Having a little fun at your expense.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Shame on me. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Beverly.
Shame on you,
Shame on
Brian.
me.
That's okay.
Shame on me. Shame on me.
Today is my first day of catching this, and I just want you to know I think you're fantastic, and I will be catching this every day that I can from now
thank you.
on. Because I have not heard anyone that have actually stood up to the Trump administration. It's like everyone is afraid of him. And we are living in one horrible mess right now.
Well, I'm afraid.
And I just want to say,
I'm afraid he might eat me. That's what I'm afraid.
We're afraid nobody. They,
Well,
we
I just want
all
to say
callers.
hats off to both of you guys today. You are fantastic, and I will definitely be listening to you all from now on.
Well,
I
thank
told
you.
my sister-in-law
That's sweet of
to
you.
do the same thing.
Well, give me 51% of the credit. Give Leonard 49%. Okay.
Okay, I will do that.
I'm
That's
just kidding.
49.
Beverly, I appreciate you. That's very sweet of you, and
Thanks,
I
Beverly.
really do appreciate you calling in. You call back anytime. I've got 30 seconds for Luck. Luck is next up on PTL. Luck, what's going on?
Hey, what's up?
What's up, Luck?
I want to end the show with a joke for everybody.
Okay.
Obama needs to come out with a meme that just says, I love stairs. I love it. I love stairs.
I love it.
What is he saying?
And just have Obama
I love
just
what?
walking up and
I don't
down
know
the
what-
stairs.
What
Like,
are you,
how
what
I
are you
laugh.
saying? It's hard to understand.
I
You
love
what?
stairs. I love stairs. He was
Oh,
saying, yeah, I love stairs. We know Donald
Yeah,
Trump
that'd be
doesn't
funny.
like stairs. He's filing a lawsuit against the escalator that wasn't working. So yeah, that's true. Luck, thank you for the joke, even though it was a strange one. Thank you for the joke. But I do understand
A
what he was
lot of
trying to get
jokes
at.
today, a lot of impersonators. That was so fun.
I do understand what he was
Talk
trying to
about
get at.
mixing it up, right?
Yeah,
right,
thank you,
Chuck?
thank you, Will Chamberlain, for making a fool of yourself on this show. I can't wait. Shame on me. I can't. By the way, can we clip that for tomorrow? Will Chamberlain. Shame on you, Brian. Shame on you.
We should do a repetitive. Shame. We should do like 3 or 4 times.
By the
in a
way,
row.
when David Duke passes away, and I choose not to celebrate his life, should I be shamed for that too?
If you're a proud white nationalist racist, maybe. I don't know.
I'm just curious. I'm just asking. I don't know. Like if a grand wizard loses his life, should I be shamed for that if I choose not to honor their life?
If you're a white, is it white national Christian race? What is it?
I think you're speaking about Stephen Miller. I
lost track of how many names they have.
Don't speak about Stephen Miller like that. He's a very nice young man.
That's right. We can't say that.
With a wonderful hairline, better than mine.
We're on TikTok. No N-word.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Leonard, thank you for being here. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going to have an actual real reporter, not a Nick Sortor moron, but an actual real reporter who is in Portland, who's covering the 100 feet of action that's going on there. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. Listen, this is an independently owned radio show, so we rely on good people like yourselves. All of you, we appreciate you in the YouTube Super Chat, but you'll see that link on the upper right-hand corner of the screen. That goes directly to my website. It's pushingthelimits.live. If you like what I do here, if you like what we do, then go to the website, make a donation, buy a PTL t-shirt or hat. We sell merchandise, $5, $10, $20 a month. Listen, whatever you can afford, we humbly and greatly appreciate. So check it out, pushingthelimits.live. My true thanks to Ron Filipkowski from Midas Touch. We love having him on. Talk about opposite ends of the spectrum.
He did a great job.
One honest, intelligent person who speaks truth, and then one complete moron idiot who thinks he's smarter than everybody else. That name is Will Chamberlain. Anyway, not to be confused with Wilt Chamberlain.
Thanks for having me.
I don't think Will Chamberlain got laid, 5,000 times in his life? I don't think Will has been laid once. That's just my person. Not to be confused with Wilt. I just want to be clear on that. All right, thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll leave on that note. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. Have a great day, everybody.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many